I think let's try again. We had some audio problems there. I'm going to try again here. Good news. And well, thank you for joining me today, Monday, August 12th, 2024. It's a beautiful day here in the Ottawa area. Beautiful because there's no politicians and the sun is out. The sun is out. So thank you for joining me today. And there's some good news this morning. Poilievre's Conservatives maintaining a 20-point plus lead over Justin Trudeau. But there's some bad news too. And I'm going to tell you about that when we come back. So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist. Yes, thanks for joining me today. Like I said, there's some good news. I'm going to go over that. Then I'm going to talk about the bad news, because that's not what you're hearing from a lot of folks this morning. But we need to put things in perspective, and we need to know exactly how things are moving in this country, because it might look good. And let's have a look at this poll here. My old friend David Coletto, Abacus data poll. Lead by 20. Now that is called maintaining a lead. And if you look at, I'm going to just read from this briefly here. And this is very current. This just came out yesterday. And David Coletto writes this on his website. From July 31st to August 7th, 2024, Abacus Data conducted a national survey of 1,550 Canadian adults exploring several topics related to Canadian politics and current events as part of our regular national omnibus surveys. The vote intention. Conservatives continue ahead, lead by 20 over the Liberals. In what is now a persistent trend, and now the 16th survey in a row, the gap between the Conservatives and the Liberals remains close or at 20 percentage points. If an election were held today, 43% of committed voters would vote Conservative, while 23% would vote for the Liberals, 18% for the NDP, and 4% for the Greens. Interestingly enough, they don't put the People's Party in there, which they're getting more than the Greens. The BQ holds 30% in Quebec. Every party's vote share is consistent with our last survey, with very minor changes, as the Conservatives are up 1 and the NDP are down 2. Now, if you look at the province by province, the Conservatives have a 62% share of the vote in Alberta, 51% Saskatchewan, Manitoba, 42% British Columbia, 44% in Ontario. And they're actually ahead of the Liberals in Quebec, 31-24. And they're actually outpolling the Bloc in Quebec, 31%-30. Atlantic Canada, traditional Liberal stronghold. The Conservatives at 41% to the Liberals 34%. Now, of course, this all adds up, as any idiot can tell you, to a landslide election in 2025. Any party, when they begin to get near that 45% of the vote in a first past the post democracy, the way we are in Canada, is going to get a tremendous amount of seats. I mean, you can win a majority election in this country in the high 30% area, and Chrétien used to do it all the time. But this is clearly seminal. Pierre Poilievre could win the biggest majority in Canadian history, outstripping that of Brian Mulroney's in 1984 and that of John Diefenbaker in 1958. And certainly outstripping anything the Liberals have ever done, because they've never actually won the whopping majority, the landslide majorities, the way that the Conservatives had. Because the Conservatives have usually won these at the end of long periods of Liberal rule, where people are just so frustrated with the Grits, they want to vote Tory badly. And that's happened. Here's another piece of good news from the Globe and Mail. Most Canadians think adding Mark Carney to the cabinet would have no benefit to Trudeau. Now, we've talked about Mark Carney here in the past. He's probably going to be the finance minister as of this Friday. Mark my words. He will be entering the cabinet this Friday as finance minister, and Chrystia Freeland will be doing something else. God knows what. Housing, perhaps? Her days as deputy prime minister might be on the way out as well. Trudeau might keep her there as a bad joke as deputy PM with a minor cabinet portfolio just to assuage her massive ego. Because one thing Trudeau understands, it's massive ego. So where are we then? Looks pretty good, doesn't it? Because I think, barring a horrendous scandal, the Conservatives will probably maintain this lead because Trudeau is so desperately popular. And even if he steps down and puts Mark Carney, and the Liberals put Mark Carney in his place, it apparently is not going to make any difference. But why do you think Trudeau wants Mark Carney in the cabinet? This occurred to me over the weekend, and it's quite obvious. In fact, it's bloody and blatantly obvious. But sometimes the most obvious ruses escape you. Yes, Justin Trudeau wants Mark Carney inside the tent. Excuse my language, pissing out, as Lyndon Johnson, President Lyndon Johnson used to always say, instead of outside the tent pissing in. And Trudeau thinks he can maintain power. So why does he want Mark Carney in the cabinet? If he poses, I won't say an existential threat, but he poses a political problem for Justin Trudeau. Why does he want Mark Carney in the cabinet? Because he wants another globalist there. Mark Carney is globalist extraordinaire. This is a man who was governor of two banks, Bank of Canada, the Bank of England. This is a man who has been a climate change guy for the United Nations. Go to Davos every year, you'll find Mark Carney there. Mark Carney is a regular. He's a good friend of Klaus Schwab. Why does Justin Trudeau want him in his cabinet? Because Justin Trudeau ain't finished yet. And the Liberals aren't done yet. Do you think they are going to sit by passively and just wait for the Conservatives to get this whopping majority government in 2025, October 2025? No, they won't. Not for a minute. They're plotting their survival right now. And how are they doing that? Crisis. You're going to see another huge crisis within the next 14 months. You're going to see, and it might not just be the persistent, the chronic climate crisis that Justin Trudeau likes to talk about as an existential threat. That has done more to bolster Justin Trudeau's spending habits than anything else, and has done more to instill fear in the hearts of pathetic, weak-hearted, weak-kneed Canadians than anything else, who actually believe that we are at the precipice of some environmental catastrophe. No, you're going to see, I predict, another pandemic. You're going to see that combined with the same immigration crisis that the UK is experiencing right now. And if you think it's just going to be in the UK, it's going to be throughout North America, because we know Trudeau is importing more immigrants, even legally, than Canada can sustain. And the illegal immigration is going to begin to climb, especially as there's an overflow from the United States. How many illegals have entered the United States in 4 years of Joe Biden? Take a guess. If you said 15 million, well, you're getting there. There's been at least 25 million. And my source with Customs and Border Control, and you saw him, hopefully you saw the interview that I did with J.J. Carroll. He's a former frontline deputy with Customs and Border Patrol in the U.S. He estimates 40 million illegals have entered the United States, and a lot of them will be forced north, no matter who wins the next election. And no, I don't think Kamala Harris is going to take that. Although the mainstream media has suddenly discovered her, and they think she is the wonderkind for the woke left. But you can bet if Donald Trump wins that election, there's going to be a mass exodus of a lot of illegals, and they're not going to go back to Mexico. They're going to go north to Canada. That's what's going to happen. What else is going to happen? There's going to be incredible pushback in Canada from those of us who say we've had enough. I want you to listen to this interview yesterday from Fox News with Maria Bartiromo, one of the best hosts on Fox News, with Nigel Farage, the leader of the British Reform Party, who named his party, by the way, after Preston Manning's Reform Party, because he thought that was his inspiration. But let's listen to this, because what is Nigel saying here? While Nigel's talking, I'll interrupt a couple of times, but what Nigel's talking about in the UK is going to happen in Canada. I guarantee it. It couldn't happen in the UK. People said, no, British people aren't like that. They're not given to rioting. They don't have race riots in Southampton. They have those in Detroit, in LA, in Watts. They don't have race riots in Canada. They don't have riots over immigration in Canada. They don't have riots over illegals in Canada. But watch and wait and see. That is a distinct possibility. Watch this interview. It's fascinating.
This is not a law-free zone. And I think that's clear from the prosecutions and sentencing. Today we're due sentencing for online behaviour. That's a reminder to everyone that whether you're directly involved or whether you're remotely involved, you're culpable and you will be put before the courts if you've broken the law. I do agree that we're going to have to look more broadly at social media after this disorder.
Now, where the hell did this Sir Keir Starmer even come from? Suddenly, he's the Prime Minister of England, of Britain. Suddenly, he's been elevated to one of the top posts in Europe. He's a globalist, completely consumed with globalist policy. And he is an anti-free speech advocate, just like Justin Trudeau. I'm going to argue right now. Watch what Keir Starmer is doing in Britain, because that's what Justin Trudeau will do in Canada, because the two of them are both globalists under the tutelage and the control of the World Economic Forum and people like Klaus Schwab. These people are exactly the same, and he's as dangerous, this man, as Justin Trudeau is. Listen to what Nigel Farage has to say about this.
Well, a chilling warning by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer that social media users who post or share footage of the riots that have been taking place across the United Kingdom face arrest and prosecution, regardless of intent. The civil unrest began after 3 girls, ages 6 to 9 years old, were stabbed to death during a Taylor Swift-themed dance event in northwestern England. Police charged a 17-year-old born in Wales with the murders. His parents were originally from Rwanda, but erroneous posts on social media claimed the suspect was an illegal immigrant. Joining me now in the Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the leader of Reform UK Party, Nigel Farage. Leader Farage, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to get your take on this violent disorder sweeping across several British cities over the weekend and this new order to prosecute anybody who is posting about it. Can you walk us through what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, two things. Firstly, the violent disorder. We've got terrible division in our cities. We've got parts of our inner city now that have become completely Muslim dominated. And that has led to a lot of British people saying, what the hell's going on? Our country is changing fundamentally. We've had successive general elections in which the Conservatives, following Labour, promised to reduce immigration numbers, yet we saw them double and then quadruple to record numbers. We have a border crisis like you of these boats coming across the English Channel. So underneath all of this, yes, you've got Muslim extremists, you've got some far right, yobs, violent people who look for an excuse. But behind it is a growing sense of unease in our country that we're losing our identity. And that is what led to that explosion of violence the other day. Now, this is the most serious violence we've had since the Black Lives Matter protests in the wake, of course, of the murder of George Floyd back in 2020. Funny enough,
Now, just a pause here. In the Black Lives Matter protest, when we had it in Canada, what did Justin Trudeau do? He went to the event and got on his knee because he's subservient to groups like Black Lives Matter, even though that group is responsible for killing cops and looting and destroying property in the billions of dollars. Justin Trudeau got on his knees and worshiped that organization. The same thing happened in the UK when the British cops got on their knees, even though these people would sooner kill them than ask for their help. But what Nigel Farage is describing here is Canada right now.
Starmer, our Prime Minister, at the time of the Black Lives Matter riots, when police were being injured, when historical monuments were being torn down, he chose to take the knee in solidarity with the aims of those who were out doing the protesting,
just like Trudeau,
and causing the violence. But now the boot's on the other foot. Now it's seen to be white, working class British people that are protesting. And by the way, I'm not defending violence in any way at all. No, now he wants to take control of the narrative. Now look, nobody should use any social media platform to genuinely spread hate or incitement to violence. And that free speech rule, I think all of us would support and agree with. But what we are allowed to do on social media, or should be allowed to do, is to speculate, is to ask questions, is to try and put facts out, that wake up the rest of the community. And when you're engaged in something like that, you can never, ever guarantee that what you say is 100% true. You may think it's true at the time. You may ask a question whether it's true. Now, Starmer, by cracking down on that, poses, I think, the biggest threat to free speech we've seen in our history. And Elon Musk has caught wind of this. You see, I think the reason Musk has been going for Starmer over the last week is he knows what the reaction is going to be. And can I just add, worse still, there is a proposal today that from the age of 5 years old, our kids in schools should be taught to spot extremism, to spot fake news and misinformation, and to use their powers of critical thinking to work out what's true and what's not. Now, by the way, I believe in critical thinking. However, if the parameters that are set are to say to every kid, if you read a post that questions net zero and global warming, it will be extreme content and a lie. If you read a post that even dares to question levels of immigration, legal or illegal, into Britain, that's extremist, then you start to set a narrative for a future generation that is fundamentally undemocratic. So I am very worried that the instincts of a left-wing Labour Party are to use this crisis to take away our liberties and our free speech. And this is going to have to be fought.
And what do you think the instincts of the Liberal Party of Canada are? Exactly like the Labour Party in Britain. They are going to use the immigration crisis, which is coming, as certain as 10 dimes make a dollar. This is coming because we have increasing numbers of immigrants, and we're going to have increasing numbers of illegal immigrants coming across the border with no jobs except low-paying jobs that they will take away from other Canadians, and no place to live because we have a housing crisis. There will be increasing ghettoization as these immigrants, legal or illegal, coalesce into various enclaves of desperation and frustration. There will be increasing radicalization. And you can bet Trudeau will say, if you criticize his immigration policy, you are racist and you should not be on the internet. That will be fake news. That will be false news. That will be misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation. And that's what the Online Harms Act is all about. There's going to be a juncture here where the immigration crisis meets the Online Harms Act. That will be Trudeau's opportunity to shut down all criticism of his policies and of his government. And that's when Trudeau will decide either to forestall the next election in October 25 indefinitely, or he will run because he thinks he can win by controlling the media, by muzzling the media, by telling the media what to say. And if you don't say it, you're off the air. This is exactly what this fascist Keir Starmer is doing in the UK. That's exactly what the globalist agenda is, and that's what Justin Trudeau is going to attempt to do in Canada to get away with robbing Canadians of their logical election choice in 2025. Does this sound conspiratorial? Just read the writing on the wall. Watch what's happening in the UK, because it can happen here in Canada. I cannot overemphasize that. And this is what Nigel Farage is saying. He's in the midst of this. Free speech is virtually dead in Britain, and it can be in Canada. That's why Trudeau is legislating it that way, and that's why he's preparing another crisis to justify taking away our freedom of speech and virtually all of our freedoms. Can't emphasize that enough. Thank you for watching today, folks. Please support this station. Smash the like button, subscribe, resubscribe if you have to. And I want to thank you for being a part of Stand on Guard and this station, KRAYDEN'S Right, because here we resolve to resist, and we will continue to resolve to resist as long as we have breath to speak. Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching this episode of Stand on Guard and being a part of the KRAYDEN'S Right channel. If you've watched this episode to this point, you've watched it all. And that's really important for a small station like this. We always say subscribe, hit the bell, be a part of the KRAYDEN resistance. Resolve to resist. That's what we're doing. And if you become a subscriber, if you're a supporter of this station or a member through Substack, through YouTube, and now you can be a local as well, that's so important to us because I couldn't do this without you. I made a decision to become an independent journalist about a year ago because I wanted to bring all of my experience in the military, in journalism, to you. I don't promise anything I can't deliver. I don't offer clickbait. I offer truth. The truth is out there. And it's my job to bring that truth to light and to you. Thanks for being a part of the KRAYDEN'S Right resistance, and we'll see you again soon. So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need to resolve to resist.